Good luck on your exam today. This is the final exam for Mr. Mussi and Miss Bendure, English 1. Take your time. You can pause and re-listen as often as you need. Part 1 is background information on Romeo and Juliet. Number 1, Romeo and Juliet was written by A. Edgar Allan Poe, B. an anonymous author, or C. William Shakespeare. Number 2, we don't know much about the author of Romeo and Juliet's life. A, because the author was very private. B, because there's very little B, because there's very little record keeping during this time. Or C, because the records were destroyed in a great fire. Number 3, the Globe Theater, B, provided shelter during bad weather. C, still exists in its original condition and location. Or D, none of the above. Number 4, when Romeo and Juliet was first performed, A, it received rave reviews. B, the role of Juliet was played by a boy. Or D, it lasted over 4 hours. And number 5, the prologue of Romeo and Juliet, B, is sung by a choir. C, is written in the form of a sonnet. Or D, is recited by Friar Lawrence at the end of the play. Part 2 will give you a description of some characters, and you have to tell us who that character is. Number 6, who was the reason Romeo went to the Capulet party for in the first place? A, Juliet, B, Rosaline, or C, Lady Capulet? 7, who is Romeo's cousin who always tried to keep the peace? A, Benvolio, C, Tybalt, or D, Count Paris? 8, who stated that the next person to break the peace would die? B, Prince Aeschylus, C, Lord Capulet, or D, Mercutio? 9, who has a fiery temper and was always ready for a fight? A, Benvolio, C, Mercutio, or D, Tybalt? 10, who demanded that Juliet marry Count Paris? A, Benvolio, B, Lord Capulet, or C, Lord Montague? 11, who was Juliet's cousin who wanted to fight Romeo at the party? A, Tybalt, B, Mercutio, or D, Peter? 12, who was killed by Tybalt? A, Romeo, B, Benvolio, or C, Mercutio? 13, who gives the potion to Juliet that puts her into a coma? B, Friar Lawrence, C, Romeo, or D, the nurse? 14, who is the messenger that Friar Lawrence sends to deliver the message to Romeo in Mantua? A, Peter, C, Friar John, D, Friar Lawrence. Part 3 are all questions for Act 1 from Romeo and Juliet. 15, at the beginning of the play, A, servants of two feuding families start a brawl in the street. B, Prince Aeschylus declares it a holiday. Or C, the nurse is speaking to Friar Lawrence. 16, Benvolio tries to A, pick a fight with Tybalt, C, break up the street fight, or D, none of these. 17, Tybalt, A, helps keep the peace, B, instigates a fight, or C, is not in the first scene. 18, Romeo is depressed over A, not being invited to a Capulet party, B, his relationship with Rosaline, or D, the fact that Lord and Lady Montague don't pay attention to him. 19, Benvolio, A, is Romeo's cousin, B, is Juliet's cousin, or C, is a troublemaker? 20. How old is Juliet? A, almost 13, B, almost 14, or C, almost 15? 21. Why does Count Paris come to see Lord Capulet? A, to buy a house, B, to ask to marry Juliet, D, just to visit? 22. How does Romeo happen to read the guest list for the Capulet party? B, the nurse shows it to him, C, Mercutio steals it, or D, a servant asks for help? 23. Who says my only love sprung from my only hate? A, Lady Capulet, B, Romeo, or D, Juliet? 24. At the end of Act 1, who are the only people who know about Romeo and Juliet's feelings for each other? A, Friar Lawrence and Nurse, B, Tybalt and Lord Capulet, or C, Mercutio and Benvolio? Part 4 is all questions over Act 2 of Romeo and Juliet. 25. Where does Romeo hide after the Capulet party? A, in the Capulet orchard, C, at Friar Lawrence's cell, or D, at the inn? 26. When Juliet first appears on the balcony, A, she's crying because Romeo is a Montague, C, she doesn't know that Romeo is listening to her, or D, she's afraid of falling? 27. Juliet believes that names A, mean nothing, B, reveal a person's soul, or C, reflect your personality? 28. Juliet is afraid that if her kinsmen see Romeo, they will A, tease her, B, kill Romeo, or C, ground her? 29. Friar Lawrence tells us that plants and men both have what in them? A, water and oxygen, C, vinegar and oil, or D, good and evil? 30. When Romeo asks Friar Lawrence to perform the marriage ceremony for him and Juliet, Friar A, counsels Romeo Rosaline is a better choice, B, can't believe that Romeo has gotten over Rosaline so quickly, or D, advises Romeo to go home and think about this some more? 31. Friar Lawrence agrees to marry Romeo and Juliet. Why? B, he thinks they'll produce beautiful children. C, he thinks it will stop the families from fighting. Or D, he believes it's his duty to do what Romeo asks. 32. Why is Juliet so impatient at the beginning of scene 5? A, Count Paris is reciting a very long love poem. C, Lady Capulet is lecturing her. Or D, the nurse has been gone for 3 hours. 33. What does the nurse have for Juliet? A, she is to tell her parents that she has to go to confession and then go to the friar's cell. B, Romeo has changed his mind. C, Friar John has agreed to perform the ceremony. Part 5 is Act 3 of Romeo and Juliet. 34. Romeo doesn't want to fight with Tybalt because A, Tybalt has a reputation of never losing a fight. B, he's afraid Prince Aeschylus will find out and kill them both. Or D, his marriage to Juliet makes Tybalt a relative. 35. Later in the scene, Romeo is motivated to kill Tybalt because Tybalt has A. killed Mercutio, B. killed Benvolio, or C. called Romeo a villain. 36. The dramatic irony in Juliet's grief is A. Juliet is distraught over Tybalt's death. B. Romeo is banished. C. She really wants to marry Paris. 37. Lady Capulet tells Juliet that she will marry Count Paris. How does Juliet react? B. By telling her mother she's too upset over Tybalt's death to think of marriage. C. She tells her mother that she would rather marry Romeo than Paris because she hates him. Or D. She demands to speak to the nurse. 38. Lord Capulet tells Juliet that if she does not obey him and marry Paris, he will A. lock her in a dungeon, C. reject her, or D. none of these. 39. When Nurse betrays Juliet when she advises her to do what? A. Forget Romeo and marry Paris. B. Run away and be with Romeo. Or C. Hide and never be seen again. 40. In the duel with Tybalt, where does Romeo hide? After the duel with Tybalt, where does Romeo hide? B. in Juliet's room, C. at Friar Lawrence's cell, or D. in Mantua? 41. How does Friar Lawrence plan to make Verona safe for Romeo's return? A. He's going to go to the Capulets and the Montagues and tell them the whole story. B. He's going to wait and ask Prince Aeschylus to pardon Romeo. Or D. He's going to create a memory erasing potion. 42. When Romeo hears that he is banished and not sentenced to death, he, A. is relieved that he won't be killed. B. begs Friar Lawrence to kill him instead. Or C. says he would rather die than be without Juliet. 43. Why does Juliet go to Friar's cell? A. to cancel the marriage to Romeo. B. to hide from her family. Or C. to seek his advice. Part 6 is Act 4 of Romeo and Juliet. 44. Why does Lord Capulet want to marry Juliet to Count Paris so soon? B. He hopes to inherit the Capulet fortune. C. He's afraid that she'll marry someone else if he waits any longer. Or D. He thinks it will help her get over the grief of Tybalt's death. 45. How does Lord Capulet respond when Juliet tells him that she will marry Count Paris? A. He wants to talk about it with Friar Lawrence. C. He's thrilled that she has finally come to her senses. Or D. He changes his mind and cancels the wedding. 46. Juliet tells B. Friar that she's willing to die if it means she wouldn't have to marry Count Paris. C. Romeo to forget about her and go on with his life. Or D. Count Paris that she doesn't love him. 47. Who is the first one to discover Juliet's death? B. Lord Capulet. C. the nurse. Or D. Friar Lawrence? Part 7 is Act 5 from Romeo and Juliet. 48. Who tells Romeo that Juliet is dead? A. Abraham, C. Peter, or D. Balthazar? 49. Juliet kisses Romeo after he is dead. A. because she loves him. B. to get some poison. Or D. because she likes kissing dead people. 50. Romeo's tragic flaw, A, is that he makes decisions too quickly without considering consequences. C, is that he married Juliet. Or D, that he doesn't listen to Mercutio. 51. What does the prince mean when he says all are punished? A, all guilty parties will be punished to the fullest extent of the law. B, Lord Montague and the Capulets will pay for what the feud has done. Or C, everyone has lost somebody in this feud. 52. What does Romeo mean when he says, then I defy you, stars? B, his fate was not to be with Juliet and live on. C, the stars in the sky are giving him bad omens. Or D, none of the above. 53. Romeo kills himself with A, poison, C, Juliet's dagger, or D, extreme grief. 54. When Friar Lawrence arrives at the Capulet tomb, A, he finds Romeo dead, B, Juliet is beginning to wake up, or D, all of the above. 55. How does Juliet die? A, with poison from Romeo's lips. B, she stabs herself with Romeo's dagger. Or D, Friar poisons her to cover up his role in this tragedy. 56. Which character did the author intend to be the comedic relief in this play? A, Peter, B, Nurse, or D, Benvolio. 57. What do Lord Montague and Lord Capulet do at the end of this story? B, they blame each other for the loss of their children. C, they demand mercy from the prince. Or D, they shake hands and end the feud. Part 8 is Who Said It? So I'm going to have a quote from the play, and you have to tell me who said that quote. 58. Who says two households both alike... Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, you guys. Who says two households both alike in dignity in fair Verona where we lay our scene? B, Prince Aeschylus, C, a chorus, or D, Mercutio. 59. Who says, if ever you disrupt our streets again, your lives shall pay the forfeit of the peace? A, Count Paris, B, Prince Aeschylus, or D, Mercutio. 60. Who says, my child is but a stranger to this world. She hath not seen the change of 14 years. A, Lord Capulet, B, Lady Capulet, or D, Lady Montague. 61. Who says, all to the friar to know his remedy. If all else fail, myself have power to die. A, Juliet, B, Romeo, or D, Benvolio. 62. Who says, oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright? A, Lady Capulet, C, Romeo, or D, Benvolio. 63. Who says, here's to my love, O true apothecary, thy drugs are quick, thus with a kiss I die? A, Romeo, B, Juliet, or C, Friar Lawrence. 64. Who says, O happy dagger, this is thy sheath, there rust and let me die? B, Juliet, C, Friar Lawrence, or D, Mercutio. 65. Who says, a plague on both your houses before he dies? A, Romeo, B, Juliet, or D, Mercutio. For part 9, We have different literary terms that we've talked about, and you just have to tell us which one we're giving you the example of. 66. Juliet is standing on the balcony talking about Romeo without knowing that he is down there. This is an example of a monologue, a soliloquy, or D, a metaphor. 67. Juliet is by herself and expressing her fears about taking the poison. By herself on the stage. This is an example of a monologue, B, a soliloquy, or D, an aside. 68. Juliet is the sun is an example of A, a monologue, C, a simile, or D, a metaphor. 69. Death lies on her like an untimely frost upon the sweetest flower in all the field is an example of B, a soliloquy, C, a simile, or D, a metaphor. 70. The reader or audience knowing that Juliet is not really dead is an example of A, an aside, B, a pun, or D, dramatic irony. And 71. A character's remark on stage that only the audience can hear and the others on stage are not supposed to hear is A, an aside, C, a monologue, or D, dramatic irony. The next set of questions are from Night by Elie Wiesel. A little change. 72. What word means the systematic and planned extermination of an entire national, racial, political, or ethnic group? A, Holocaust, B, genocide, or C, program? 73. Which of the following is not part of Hitler's plan to rid Europe of the Jews? A, boycotts, B, ghettos, or D, deportation? Which one was not part of his plan? 74. Which of the following is not a group that Hitler tried to eliminate? A, Poles, C, Swedes, or D, homosexuals? 75. What did Elie Wiesel want to study at the beginning of the book? A, beetle, B, geometry, or C, Kabbalah? 76. Who helps Elie in his studies? A, his father, B, Moishi the beetle, or C, the rabbi? 77. Madame Shatner's visions about fire is an example of what? A, foreshadowing, C, similes, or D, metaphors? 78. What age is Elie when he reaches Auschwitz? A, almost 12, B, almost 15, or C, 18? 79. What is Ellie's new name at the camp? B, A7713, C, C3PO, or D, Shlomo? 80. What item do the SS extract from the Jews at the camp? A, inheritance, C, gold teeth, or D, their feet? 81. What do the men do to help their chances during selection? A, jumping jacks, B, put on makeup, or C, run? 82. Why does Elie go to see a doctor? A, his foot gets infected, C, his tooth aches, or D, he was whipped 25 times? 83. Who do the prisoners next to Ellie in the hospital say he trusts the most? B. Doctors, C. Hitler, or D. himself? 84. What happens to the men who got slowed down on their way to Gliowitz? A. They were shot. B. They were trampled. Or C. Both of the previous answers. 85. What is the last word Ellie's father says to him? A. Mercy. B. Water. Or C. Elizer? 86. What do the liberated prisoners think about after they get freed? A. Food. B. Revenge. Or D. Freedom? 87. On the second leg of the transfer to Gliowitz, what do the prisoners fight over? B. Toilet paper. C. Bread. Or D. None of the above? 88. What was Rabbi Elihu looking for when he came across Ellie on his trip to Gliowitz? A. His son. C. Ellie's father. Or D. Peace? 'You're going to need a separate sheet of paper, and you're going to answer all 3 of these questions in 1 paragraph each. So maybe just skip a line. 1 paragraph for each one. Remember, that's 4 to 6 sentences. The first one, answer in a complete paragraph. What role does chance play in Ellie's survival of the Holocaust? What role does choice play? Give at least 1 example of chance in the novel and 1 example of choice, and explain how each example contributes to his survival. In your opinion, how much control did Ellie have over his life during the time in the concentration camps? And based on what you said so far, do you think choice or chance have more of an impact on survival or success in living? So what could Ellie control? What could he not control? How much control did he really have? And do you think it's choice or chance that impacts your survival most? The second one. Compare and contrast the behaviors of the nurse and Friar Lawrence in the play Romeo and Juliet. On the basis of their actions and interactions with the other characters, which of the 2 would you trust more if you were Romeo or Juliet? Choose one, the nurse or friar, and explain in 1 complete paragraph, giving at least 2 examples to support your claim, whether you think the nurse or Friar Lawrence are the most trustworthy ally. And the last one, answer in 1 complete sentence. When reading a novel, poem, or work of nonfiction, we often put ourselves in the place of one or more of the characters. Think about a character from a work that you read this year. That could be something we read together, you guys. It could be from your independent reading book. But anything that we read this year, think about a character and write a paragraph about his or her struggles. Why did you identify with this character? And what, if anything, did you learn about yourself from reading this story? Make sure you have detailed examples to support your thought.